you have not become a patron of the Geocache Talk Network, what are you waiting for? Patron levels start as low as a Bison Tube level at $3 a month. To sign up is easy. Simply go to the Geocache Talk website and click on the Become a Patron button, or go to patreon.com/Geocache Talk. Patrons now get the famous Blackout coin, invites to special events, and other really great items throughout the year. Become a patron today. Have you subscribed to FTF Magazine yet? FTF Magazine is the #1 geocaching magazine available. It is a quarterly magazine that you can be part of. Submit your geocaching milestones and adventures to be published. FTF Magazine is also interactive with puzzles to solve and the hunt to find Spartacus. If you can solve the puzzle or find Spartacus, then you will be entered in to win a special pack tag. Every new subscription, you will receive a special swag pack. Subscribing is easy. Just visit FTF's website, ftfgeo.com. Don't miss out and subscribe today.
Logwork, the creators of the fantastic logbook, made with genuine Write-in-the-Rain paper. The logbook's designed for the micro-containers of the present and future, geared towards the hider who'd rather go caching than doing cache maintenance. Find them at logwork.com. That's logwerk.com.
Hello, and welcome to Challenge Talk, part of the Geocache Talk Network. You can watch the show live on the second Tuesday of each month. Feel free to jump over to YouTube, Facebook, or X to watch the broadcast live and join the wonderful and active chat room, or listen to the entire show later on your favorite podcast player or YouTube.
Tonight, we have a very special guest from that land down under to explore a new country, a new continent, and some of the challenges that you may find there.
Yeah. We also have prizes to give away each show to our listeners. Between each show, be sure to email your challenge cache finds to challengetalkpodcast@gmail.com, and you could be a winner.
Later on in the show, we'll play our special game exclusively for the live audience, the Wheel of Challenges. So listen live, get your email app ready, and follow the instructions when the time comes so you can have a chance at winning tonight's grand prize.
And at the end of the show, we'll highlight some of the challenge caches you found, and someone will win our coveted monthly giveaway. So hello, we are your hosts, Emily and Tim. How you doing, Tim?
Hi, Emily. I'm very good. I'm going to bring in our special guest. We'll
Absolutely
introduce him again later officially, but he's off camera, so let's bring him in.
Absolutely.
So
Hey,
this
Ben,
is our
how are you?
BFMC from that big land, that big country, and we're going to go into some of that tonight. But as we start the month, Emily, how's your month been? What was November like?
Yeah, it's been good. I guess a bit of a quieter geocaching month, but my parents were here for 2 weeks for Thanksgiving. So since Mom and I didn't get to find everything we wanted to find on our going caching trip, I got to fill in an old cache here in Oregon for her for our Jasmer progress, or I should say working towards Quad Jasmer. So that was satisfying for me, and Mom was fine with it too. Because we all know I'm just dragging her along.
There you go. At least she's a good sport about that.
Yeah, since our last show, I've done 2 geo challenges of the month. I love doing that from the geocaching blogger and Cache Advance. So I have fun seeking those out. Another twist on challenge caching. And I have been able to fill in a few dates for my non-traditional finds calendar. I'm still working on a challenge that I signed last year. I'm sure it'll take me several years to get there. I just can't find a non-traditional cache on a Wednesday around here. So it's fabulous when the date pops up on a weekend and I can have an event or go out of town or something. So I got a few of those dates in the past month. How about you, Tim?
Very nice. Very nice. Well, it's been another fascinating month. We had another Geo Woodstock meeting for the ambassadors last month. And man, it really isn't about the numbers on this show, but Geo Woodstock is really going to be about the numbers. The first number is 2,464.
Oh,
just before showtime, I looked. And so they're creeping ever closer to that magic number of 3,000.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time to get your Willetens in and push that number up. And then numbers, numbers, numbers. There's going to be obviously 1 mega. Maybe it'll be something different.
Maybe.
But there's going to be 8 side events. There's the Country Roads Challenge, which is 10 more caches and kind of a Geo Tour poker run kind of mix. There's a new Geo Tour called The Middle of Everywhere, and that's going to have 25. There's a Cryptid Creatures Geo Art coming out, which is another 21. And then there's the Appalachia Adventure Lab, which is now 600 locations.
Wow.
Plus some more on site when they host the event. So
wow. Is that a GeoLab art or just massive quantity?
The Appalachian Trail is a geo art of West Virginia, and it's 120 labs that have been donated to the project and 600 locations. It is the largest adventure art in the world right now.
Yeah, I've never done one that had more than 500. Less than 500 is what I've done. So, wow, amazing.
So I got into something new, and I don't know how well this is known, whether, Ben, you know about it, and maybe it came from Europe. And it is called the GeoAdvent project, geoadvent.eu. And it's in the show notes.
News to me.
This is a Christmas holiday themed challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And
I took a
each
look at it this
day
year.
a new challenge publishes, and all you need to do is find a cache within the month of December that meets that qualification, and you turn your art from black and white to color, and it's really pretty cool.
And so what I understand is it's for any find from December of 2024, and you're trying to find a diverse set of caches because it might work for multi numbers of these challenges, but it also might be the one cache that only works for one of them. Do I have that about right?
Correct.
And so you're trying to be diverse so that you can fill in this whole chart and make it colored. But you don't know what it is until you don't know the rest of the month. There
Correct.
We go.
So here it is on the screen. These are the exercises, as they call it. And, you know, the first one is the Welcome to the GeoAdvent 2024. And when you click on that, there's a little holiday story. And then here is your exercise today. Search and find a geocache. Doesn't have to be any more difficult than that. Just find a cache. And once you find one, you put your code in, then your status is approved for that. You can only use one cache one time per month, or for the event
for the challenge.
The website's been a little clunkier this year, but here's what I'm working on. So you can see it's Santa and the elves, and each day gets colored in as you work. I did today's already, but I missed the 7th. The 7th, I have to find a cache with 100 favorite points. And my next element that I have, which is there is in Fort Wayne, Indiana, GC B0 VMJ. It's their monthly hiders meeting, and the month of December they're going to focus on challenge caches.
Oh.
So it's a 3-hour drive for me, but I'm hoping to get there. And there's a cache just south of that event that has 100 favorite points.
Oh, good.
So I can turn that black and white into color.
So you don't have to find it on that day, but you're not going to get it revealed, and then you have until a certain date in January to finish.
Correct. It's like 15 days after the end of the month to get it. Oh, and because this is a European cache and I'm in Michigan, I can see tomorrow, which is large and small parts. Search and find a cache with a container size other than micro. again, not real hard, kind of fun. I like it.
Yeah, that's
So I
great.
thought that's something I'm working on for the month.
That's really fun. So let us know if you are doing this too, and if you or if this inspires you and it's something you want to give a try.
Yeah, it's 3 years in the making, or 3. This is the year 3 of it, and it's a lot of fun. They're not hard challenges, but holiday's not supposed to be fun, but it could be. For me, I did find a virtual cache today. Usually there's a virtual somewhere in the list, and I've got 3 virtuals within 150 miles of me. Now I have 2.
You're right.
Like I said, the favorite point one, I gotta drive 3 hours to get any favorite point. So
Yeah.
those are hard.
All right, very cool. Well, we have a lot of news items, but a lot of them are centered around souvenir moments that are coming up. So you've probably heard about this. Check your email for the geocaching newsletter where they announce these things. But we have the December solstice souvenir, December 20th through 22nd. Tim, that's just one cache, right?
Correct. Yep.
On
one
those
cache
3 days.
on that weekend.
Mm-hmm. Then we have the end of the year souvenir. Like always, you can find, you got a lot of time on these. You find a cache or attend an event December 24th through 31st. And then, of course, the start of the year 2025 souvenir, find a cache or attend an event January 1st through 8th. So I know I do whatever
I'm really
souvenirs I
excited
can.
about that next news item.
Okay, tell us.
2025, the year of the party.
How about it?
So I did some quick numbers. In the United States, there are 16 mega events, of which only three are real megas, and we're hoping that one of those becomes not a mega anymore. I don't know which one that is. But there's 13 block parties currently published for the USA. And then I went and did it, as you know, the Podcast of Hope was Saturday, and I was talking with Brian, who didn't really know how many block parties were out there. There's 104 mega, giga block party events. And that number gets made up of 13 standard megas. And again, that Woodstock one might move. There's 1 giga already announced in Czechia. 7 mazes are going to be around worldwide. But then 83 of 104 are block parties.
Wow. It is the year of the block party.
It is. And Ben actually has 2 in Australia.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're going to one, you said, right? In January?
Yeah, heading up to Sydney in January for the first one for the year. And I'm actually on the organising committee for the second one in Melbourne late in March.
Awesome. Great.
All right. Cool.
So this is your chance, if you didn't do it before, to attend one and get that icon. We all know all those little details about our profile and all our little statistics. They play into challenges. And so now's your chance in 2025 to get those filled in.
All right. And community celebrations are another way to party in 2025.
Another icon if you don't have it.
If you don't have it. As of December the 9th, the United States had 193 events published, and CCEs were 52 of that. Now, again, Podcast of Hope, I asked Brian about being able to search these out a little bit easier.
Right.
We'll see what comes of that, because when I went worldwide, there's 1,430 events currently published for the world, but 226 of those are CCEs.
All right.
And then Australia has 16 CCEs already out of 44. So Ben, you're gonna get some icons this year.
Certainly am.
I hope.
Very good. And Tim, do you have a CCE credit to have an event?
I have one. Yes, and we're looking to do that with our Camp MyGo event. The Camp MyGo event is a first year block party for us. And I've got one. I'm looking for a second one. So if you've got a CCE and you have no idea what you want to do with it, let me know. I'll help.
Adoption's considered.
Adoption considered.
All right.
And then we can move into our regular monthly stats. We'll go quick on this so we can actually get to Ben. We added 377 new caches as of December the 1st. So we are now at 44,131. USA is number 1. Germany, Canada, Norway, France. Australia comes in at number 8. Only 110 behind Sweden. Sweden's sitting there at number 7. So a little bit of work, Ben? Or you would...
Sounds like a challenge.
There you go.
That's
Kitty
right.
Catch can also help. The USA, the top 4, Texas, California, Michigan, and Florida. And I do have to set the record straight from last month.
Okay.
Last month in the Geo Party question, we asked which state has the fewest challenge caches. And everybody came up with poor little Wyoming. Well, Wyoming actually has 15 challenge caches.
Oh.
There's a state with even less.
Tell us.
Delaware.
Oh.
Delaware has 13. It would not have impacted the outcome of the game. However, Acorn Mama won. But I did want to set the record straight.
Well, thanks, Tim. That's interesting. I was convinced it was Wyoming. I forget why.
I knew it was down there on the bottom. So the Bloody Cool says that's just sad for Delaware. It is. Get out there and do some work, Delaware. Come on. So let's talk about our topic, shall we?
Yeah. Yes. Welcome again to Ben.
Thank you.
And we want to talk about challenge caching in Australia, unique aspects of it, and all kinds of little details that you've got for us. We were chatting before the show, and it's very interesting as an American to hear about different angles that you guys have to consider. So let's jump in.
Well, let's tell us a little bit about yourself, Ben. When did you start caching? How long have you been caching? Things like that.
So late 2017, I started. Had heard about it well before. Had a couple of extended family members that did it back in the day when it was paper caching. I will say cache instead of cache, or vice versa, just to put that on the record.
No problem.
But yeah, got into it through a work colleague who I'm actually on the block party committee with now, as an excuse to get out of the office and go for a walk at lunchtime. So that's where it started. 7 years later, don't have a huge amount of fines, just over 3,100. Didn't cache much through the COVID time because for those who are familiar with Australia, we liked our lockdowns. But been back into it again for probably a couple of years, a bit more seriously now. So favorite type of cache, we're here. That question answers itself. It's a challenge cache. I'm a self-confessed challenge junkie. And what excites me most about it, it's that opportunity to get out and see different places, do different things, and be guided by something other than Google reviews.
That is such a good point. I have found myself like rejecting whatever's out there. I don't want to know about it. I want to know what the geocachers have to tell me about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
So, but yeah, that's probably more than enough about me.
That's all right.
Challenge caching in Australia. So it's an interesting thing. So we have 1,447 active challenge caches as of a day or two ago, which is about 1.4% of the total number of caches in Australia. And that really dictates to where the key differences in challenge caching are here. We only have just over 100,000 active caches in a country that is pretty big and surprisingly bigger than most people realize. So Emily, I'll put you on the spot if we're able to bring up those graphics and give everybody a little bit of context in terms of what we're talking about. So from pure cache numbers, just having a look, the USA has just under 1 million caches in that type of size, 335 million people in America compared to 26.6 million in Australia. So we do have a lot less caches. So doing things like numbers and racking up favorite points and all of those kinds of things are more challenging, pun unintended. So I guess the concept is very, very similar, but the numbers to achieve challenges in Australia are very, very different. And also in that space, I think we're talking 8 states versus 50 odd in America off the top of my head.
Right. Here's a picture of the Australian states.
Yep. So, and for anybody who's very observant, yes, that does look like 7. The tiny little white dot inside New South Wales called Canberra, the nation's capital, is its own territory as well. So that's where the 8 sits for anybody who was eagle enough to go, that's only 7. But yes.
Well,
I didn't realize
that one state that you can't drive to. That's kind of like our Hawaii.
Yep, correct. So there is a ferry you can take the car and the caravan on if you wish. That leaves just near where I live, about 15 minutes from my home. That'll take you down to Tasmania, but it's crossing through a rip to get out of the mainland, which is a very, very rough patch of water. So if you don't have good sea legs, that can be an interesting experience. You're better off taking the 1-hour flight.
Interesting.
Wow. So, can we just bring that Europe one up quickly as well? I don't know if we've got anybody from Europe in here, but I think this really, really talks to Germany off the top of my head, has somewhere around 500,000 cases, just under 435,000 in that tiny little dot that is in the middle of what's Australia. They've got more than 4 times as many cases.
Wow, what a perspective.
Yeah, I mean, this one is really unique. And when we talk about the challenges that Germany has, they have 4,600 in that little square. You would think that. So you have less population, but the population centers are aggregated toward those major cities.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of the central part of Australia has very, very little population. Heavily focused towards the east coast in terms of numbers, down through Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne. And you'll find with Western Australia, there's a lot in Perth, and a lot of that part of the country is rather remote. Some very, very beautiful places to visit, some very, very beautiful caches, but certainly not cache dense.
Okay.
So that's really good perspective on what your possibilities are, I guess, for where challenges can be hidden, what the topics of your challenges may be limited by.
Yeah, it's when you start to talk things like states and counties, and we call them LGAs, local government areas here, what Project GC refers to as counties. So the opportunities are still there. The numbers are just different. So as we were talking before the show, the latest challenge I've published, I called the Pentadeca Challenge, which is 15 finds in 10 different states. You actually have to leave Australia to do that and go to at least one other country. You could take the 4-hour flight from the East Coast across to New Zealand, do both islands and tick it off. But yeah, that's to an American, that would be a few road trips. I'll tick that off. Not so simple here.
Well, and for any of us that live in the Northeast, New England section, you can do that in a day.
After luck. I've got to drive 5 hours just to leave my state.
Oh my goodness.
And it's not the big one.
And it's not the big one.
No, I saw that. Funny. You're in Victoria, right?
Yep.
Which is that's like the small, other than Tasmania, maybe Victoria is the smallest state. Well,
or Canberra, the ACT. Yeah, you can drive around that in a lunch break. But so the road trip to Sydney is about 10 to 11 hours of driving. The road trip to Adelaide, which we did for a mega earlier this year, is about 8 hours of driving.
Wow.
But good fun and a good opportunity to set some challenges that don't necessarily tie into challenge caches. So probably the favorite challenge I've done this year will never ever be a challenge cache, because we set the objective to do a full DT grid in a day on Leap Day.
Oh, yes.
That's huge. Did you do it?
We did. It was 7 of us in a minibus. We were probably a little fragrant by the end of the day. many, many months of planning. And certainly had to have some backup caches after a few DNFs, but that was a good fun day, but it'll never be a challenge cache.
Yeah, no, that's huge. That's huge.
Well, yeah, and I remember that trying to get in 81 on I don't remember if that's one of them that you have to accomplish it on the day, or you can accomplish it over several leap days. Some of them you can do cumulatively, and
Yep.
some you have to do on that day.
Mm.
I don't remember if that's one or the other.
So Matthew in the chat's pointed out there's totally a Project GC stat gem badge for that. That was our goal for the day. How many leap day add-ons could we tick off?
Yes, yes. That's one. I didn't even remember that because that's one
We
of the
did a show
add-ons
about that.
I know, but like I'm not going to achieve that. So my brain did not retain that information that was a possible add-on.
Yeah. I think I managed to tick off somewhere around 17 or 18 leap day add-ons, having only
Beautiful.
cached on one leap day previously. And I think I found 3 or 4. So I had a pretty blank slate to work with, but that was a good fun day.
Okay.
Good.
Nice. So when we talk about, different streaks, that's harder for you because there's not as many caches around to find. How does that work?
Yeah.
Or how do some of the name brand challenges work in Australia?
All right, so let's start with the streaks. If you are in one of the big cities, it's relatively achievable. I did a 365 streak. Fortunately, it was something that I started very early on in my time caching, which certainly made it a little bit easier. Doing it these days, I know friends who have got no caches within the best part of 100 kilometers or 60 miles in your money. And even just trying to find the end of year souvenir, find one cache across 3 or 4 days, they're doing a bit of a road trip for that. So there's certainly opportunities around the population dense areas, and a lot of people have got trails and all the common sorts of stuff you find elsewhere in the world that can certainly help with that. I had a series of about 100 caches that were from a previous mega event that were about 10 minutes from home that I thought, perfect, that's going to be my streak backup options, and 2 months into my streak, they archived them all. So that went out the window, but there was certainly many a day where I would be out at midnight finding a cache at 11:58 and another one at 12:01.
Right.
Just
exactly.
to try and make that a little bit easier from a travel perspective. Yeah. So that's one. The Jasmine Challenge. This is the big one.
Yes.
So
I was particularly interested. I'm Jasmer obsessed. How do you do it?
Yes, we are Jasmer obsessed with a twist. So our version of Jasmer here locally is called Ausmer, AUSMER. And essentially what it is a Jasmer minus 4 months in 2000 that are just not available in Australia.
Okay.
June, July, August, September 2000 off the top of my head.
Okay.
So we do have a few Ausmer challenge caches around Australia that just delete those 4 months out. There are certainly a few locals who are well-travelled who have fulfilled the Jasmer in Australia, but there's certainly not very many of them at all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but it's not possible to complete a Jasmer in Australia, correct? Nope. So nope. You can achieve the Jasmer challenge, but you've got to go find some of those dates that are not in Australia.
Yep. Yeah. So for people who think they have to travel a long way in the States to go and find an August 2000, one of the 3 there and the 4th in Sweden, we've got to go to the whole other hemisphere.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So that's a very long-term challenge for me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that makes sense.
Now, we talked about the December solstice, and HQ's been very good about not naming them the winter solstice or the summer solstice, because it is summer in Australia. You're getting into summer, right? This is the
Certainly am.
Peak of summer.
Yep. A couple of weeks into summer. It's coming a bit late this year, but officially it's summer, yes.
Okay.
Right.
So in the States, summer is usually when vacations happen and students are out of school for the year. Does it work that way in Australia as well? Is this your time to travel?
Yes. So I've got 2 kids. One's just finished school for the year last week and the other finishes in a couple of days, and they have about 7 weeks until the school year starts. So our school year tends to work with the calendar year, and their big break is over summer as well. So hence why I'm packing them in a car and going on a 7-day road trip up to Sydney for the block party in January that conveniently makes 2 stops on the way in areas that are full of challenge caches.
Nice. Well, the side of that though is, you talk about the August 2000. It's wintertime in Sweden. It's wintertime in Michigan. You can't get to Power Island right now, and the Geocache 612 you probably can't get to. I haven't been to Potter's Pond, but it's also
No.
winter there.
Yeah.
So when you're traveling, these caches are extremely hard to find.
Yeah, we do tend to like to chase summer though. So we did a Europe trip for the first time 18 months ago, just under, and we actually went in our winter because it's cold. It's not exciting, especially down south where I live. So we went and chased summer through France and Italy and even the UK. We took what they call a summer as warm weather at that time of year. So yeah, it's a lot of local travel. I'm talking from my own perspective, primarily during the Christmas season. But yeah, definitely overseas trips tend to happen in the middle of the year for us, our winter, your summer, and we'll try and chase some sun and some warmth. And the availability of caches may or may not play into that. So unfortunately, I didn't get to Sweden, so I still don't have August 2000. I couldn't quite talk the rest of the family who aren't really caches into that. So I just had to pick my battles.
There you go.
Abbey Road Virtual in London was my one non-negotiable. Sorry, not virtual, webcam. So we have 4 active webcams in the entirety of Australia.
Oh, that's another interesting point.
4, 2 in Adelaide in the city, 1 about an hour or so's drive out of Adelaide, and then the 4th is in my home state Victoria, which is in one of the ski fields. So during winter, it's snow season, and you're in the middle of the snowfield.
Wow. So I'm going to pull that map up again. That means they're all down in the southeast. Is that what you said?
Yep, absolutely. So the one in Victoria is kind of in central Victoria, and then the others are right around that white dot that's Adelaide in South Australia. So challenges around webcams, yeah, good luck. Ironically, I still haven't found the one in my home state yet. I have picked up a couple in other countries, and that's the kind of thing when you leave Australia, you go, what can I get that I can't get at home?
What can I get? Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Webcams is always a big one.
Yeah, for sure.
So, because it's one of those Project GC medals that's down in that bronze silver status, which really irks me as a stats junkie.
Yeah, I can see that would really, but I mean, you work with what you have, and so
correct.
It's really not. It's not good to be envious of other things in other places. Just take what you got and enjoy what you have.
It's called the lucky country
it's
for a
not
reason.
about the numbers, and it's really not. It's the places we go and the things we see and the people we meet.
Yeah.
And you have all 3 of those things down there.
Did you say it's called the lucky country?
Yeah. Yep.
I've never heard that.
Well, maybe that's just us that calls it that.
And why is it
certainly
lucky?
something? Yes, it's just a great place to live.
Awesome.
The winters we think are cold, but compared to winters in some parts of America, they're not cold. I'm a self-confessed 49ers fan since the day I was born, and watching them play Buffalo in the snow last week, my t-shirt and shorts was just glorious.
Very good. Oh, yeah.
Well, yeah, and Kitty Gatch put up another one. She says, it's good to get out of Australia in July and visit other countries in their summers. So, like I said, she's coming to visit this year in July for us, and so look forward to seeing her.
Very good.
And making that happen. I know during the winters, my wife and I like to get away and go to someplace warm. And I imagine that's another good incentive for you in Australia to take a winter vacation and go someplace nice and warm. And luckily, the Northern Hemisphere is that way.
Yeah, we certainly found that out walking through Rome along the Spanish Steps when it hit 46 degrees, which is 115 in your money.
Oh.
In a city that's just black stone. So that probably took it a little bit to the extreme. Maybe we should have gone when it was a little bit less hot, but that was certainly a shock to the system.
Yeah.
But a good one.
So you were telling us about a really neat themed cache that you hid, because you were telling us that maybe a simple statistic can be really amped up with a good theme. Is that this
Absolutely.
most favorited cache you've got listed here in the show notes?
Yeah, so there's a couple. It's something I like to do broadly, but yeah, let's touch on that. So Australia's highest favourite pointed challenge cache has 140 favourite points, and the highest one in the country of any type only has 579. So there's a whole different challenge in its own right. But a very, very simple challenge from a statistical perspective. It's find caches with the dogs allowed attribute. Don't hold me to the number. I think it's 500 off the top of my head. But the cache is an ammo can at a doggy daycare centre in the outskirts of the Adelaide CBD, and it's just so well themed that it turns what's a very, very simple statistic into a really, really great cache to do.
Awesome.
And that was one of the DT Grid 81 that we found back in February, and was one of our first stops from the airport. Really, really great cache. And there's a lot that are themed. I tend to personally like to do it because it just gives something more interesting for the people that aren't challenge cache inclined, who just see it as a number, see it as a stat, and it doesn't have to be caching related. I have the Daft Punk Around the World challenge, which for people who know the song, it's just kilometers racked up 5 times around the world. I call it the Daft Punk challenge. The other one we touched on was my 365-day streak challenge. So part of doing that streak was I wanted to be able to put the cache out at the end, which is a 5-5. You have to kayak down a river and climb up a tree, because I figure if you've cached for a year straight, you've earned it. And I called that the Helen D'Amico challenge, after somebody who ran onto the ground wearing nothing more than a scarf in our version of the Super Bowl in the early 80s as a streaker. So I figured it was appropriately to name that challenge the Helen D'Amico challenge. It's just makes it a little bit more fun.
That makes sense. I mean, it is a great way, and maybe because the numbers are where they are in the States, that we can get by with throwing a pill bottle out the window and letting it land somewhere. But I like the idea of placing a cache. I know we had one of my friends placed a challenge cache, so many restroom nearby, and it was a little outhouse in a pine tree. That's all the cache was.
That's a really interesting one. So as we were talking to earlier, I've got all kinds of weird and wonderful things in the back of my head, including 100 cache musical themed geo art. And one of the challenge caches in that was find X number of caches with the public restroom attribute. And I actually called that one the George Michael Fast Love Challenge.
Nice.
Hasn't been published, so if anybody wants to steal that idea, feel free. It's just sitting in my
we
very,
are
very
about
long list of one
inspiring
day
our
things.
community. Yeah,
Absolutely.
So, and you also tagged the oldest cache in Australia, and when was that one published?
Did. So it was sometime in 2006. I didn't write down the exact date. And it's when we're talking about kind of the key core challenges, I think you call it a DeLorme challenge over there, which is based around the old Road Atlas road map before we had Google Maps and Apple Maps, when it used to be a book and your parents would fight over which direction they were turning and mum would turn the map upside down. So that still exists down here in Victoria, and I think it's 80 odd pages off the top of my head. And it actually has a checker these days, which makes life much easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially after road trip around the state of Victoria and find at least one on all of the pages of the old school atlas.
Okay.
So
and I read that wrong, because we were talking about the Osmer challenge being the, our equivalent to the Jasmer. And I read this one as that being the oldest cache in Australia. No, it's not the oldest. It's the oldest challenge cache in Australia.
Oldest challenge cache, yes. The oldest cache used to exist as a traditional, was republished as a virtual these days due to it was in a national park in a environmentally sensitive area. That's in early 2000, just a short drive out of Sydney, where you can get a 2000 virtual.
Awesome.
Very nice. Cool. There are not many of those either.
No, there's not. And for anybody who wants to come and join us at the Sunbury Block Party in Melbourne in March next year, Victoria's oldest is only a short drive from that, which is just a few months later. I think it was September 2000. was the first published in Victoria and is still alive.
Yay. That's awesome.
Good. Is there anything else that when we have challenge talk and you hear us going on, you're like, yeah, I wish, are we any other privileges we have that we wouldn't know it without you telling us?
Proximity to HQ.
There you go. Yeah.
So part of that gets solved next year with the availability of block parties. But yeah, some of the things that are really, really difficult to do from the other side of the world is the HQ visit, is this August 2000s ape caches.
I was going to say ape cache. That's a long haul.
We don't hold me to this, but I think we did have one in Australia. I can't remember exactly where it was. But certainly hasn't been around in my time.
Right.
So yeah, things like that. Gigas, there's not many people in Australia that have ever been to a giga, because again, it's the other side of the world. I did look at Prague, Czechia, and go, oh, could I do that? No, I think I'd come home to an empty house and my family would have gone, nah, you're done. Even things like geotours. So geotours, very, very rare here. We were lucky. A group in Victoria did do one in one of our regional cities a couple of years ago, once we started to reopen up out of COVID. And that's literally the only geotour I've ever done. Mazes, we're pretty lucky. The state organisation that organises our mega events down here does have a maze. So we've had 3 or 4 mazes over the last 4 or 5 years, I think. So that was a nice opportunity. But when we were contemplating an America trip around now, which we didn't end up pulling off, certainly a trip through Seattle was definitely on the list. And funnily enough, brought up by my wife. She wanted to go to the home of grunge music and where Pearl Jam came from. And I went, you want to go to Seattle? Oh, yeah, look, okay, sure, let's go.
I can handle that.
I'm sure I'll find something to do.
Yeah, I find that it helps if you add something that your wife is interested in. Like, she wanted to take a cruise for our 40th anniversary. Yes, dear. How about we go to the Baltic Sea? Yep, I could. That would be a really great trip for us. And I said, how about we start in Sweden? And she's like, yep, that would be okay. And I'm like, can I get just one cache?
Just one.
She's like,
just
that'll
one.
Just one. I know which one.
You got to play that game.
Yeah. And that talks to some of the other challenges here as well. So things like elevation. I think our highest cache is at about 2,500 meters. So we don't have the really, really tall peaks. Attributes like snow attributes. We do have a number of snowfields kind of in the southeastern corner of the country, but we certainly don't get blanket snow like some states of Americas do. Talking with a couple of friends, we tried to think of what's the things that are easier in Australia maybe. About the only thing we could come up with was the dangerous animals attribute, because let's be honest, it's Australia. Almost every cache could have it.
I've heard that. I've heard that Australia is one of the few places you can go where everything wants to try to kill you.
Except the people.
Okay.
Good. That's one less worry.
Ironically, I've had 2 encounters with snakes while caching, and neither of them were in Australia, but that's luck rather than circumstance on my part.
Well, that makes me think of other attributes, like the cactus attribute. Is that what it is? The cactus? That's up in Wisconsin?
That's the old one that doesn't technically exist anymore, but is kind of a legacy thing. And do you have
partnership attributes in Australia?
No, I don't think so. Whether we have had at some point or what, I'm not certain. But yeah, there's a couple of attributes that I've just never got.
So that's another major travel commitment for attributes.
You can't get them all.
Yeah, so I'm missing 2 attributes: lost and found and partnership. I was missing 3, but the Geo Tour a year ago took care of the third one.
Well, and you'll get the block party one. I believe that the lost and found is going to be awarded with the block party. I'm not positive, but I have heard that rumor.
Yeah.
So
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, everybody will. I don't have that one either, and I started caching in 2006, and The
Oh, there you go.
partnership attribute is a little bit easier to get. I know there were 4 in the United States.
There were only 4, and then it kind of blew up again with the trolls.
Yes.
And even in Europe, right?
Yeah,
a
there's now
bunch more in Europe.
18 in the United States, and I have not looked at Europe to see how many are over that way.
Yeah, and Kitty Catch said no partnership attribute in Australia.
Yep. And she would know.
Thank you for confirming my assumption.
Yeah. So yeah, but again,
31
like
Australians have managed to get 14 types in a day, Matthew says, not counting labs. That's tied with the global record. That's
I was going to bring that up.
That's a really, really good point. I don't think I'm one of them. I think 13's my best.
Okay.
However, I could have road tripped that day to the webcam and got one more. But it just wasn't possible, unfortunately.
sometimes it's just not. And like Tim said, no need to cry over that.
No.
It gives you goals, and it gives you aspirations, and it gives you something to be excited about for the future.
No, 12,
Yeah,
sorry.
and-
So the webcam would have been 13. I still would have fallen one short. There you go.
Okay. Well, and it's still it's a who cares, and what is if you are happy with where you are and who you are and how you cache, that's all that matters. It doesn't matter. My number is 14, your number is 13, or 12,
Correct.
and who cares? I don't get anything for it.
Right?
My caching experience became so much more enjoyable when I adopted the rule that I cache how and when and where I want, and I let others do exactly the same, regardless of whether it doesn't match my style or not.
Absolutely.
So if you don't like something,
adopted
walk past it.
I've adopted the acceptance of what wasn't as a part of the journey, and that just makes it so much easier to move on.
Yep, and that's the beauty of it. It can be different things to different people. Somebody don't worry about when they log their caches or how long it takes to log their caches, or even logging their caches in the first place, or just log them en masse in one day. And hey, if they don't care about the stats, then knock yourself out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, well, thank you again for joining us. This has been amazing. I love being able to learn about new places and new cultures, and it's absolutely on my bucket list to come visit you, come visit Kitty Cache, do some scuba diving on the Great Barrier Reef. Those were all bucket list items. Maybe I'll have to spend a month in Australia and maybe see the East Coast?
Well, if you want to go scuba diving, head over to South Australia for that 5/5 virtual with the scuba attribute.
Okay.
Water will be a bit cooler than the Great Barrier Reef, being down south, but not a lot of people have found that one, and it's an early 2000s cache off the top of my head.
Awesome.
Nice.
Yeah,
All right.
There you go.
What do you say, Emily? Is it time?
Yeah. So again, thanks, Ben.
Hello, I'm Fisher Casher, and I'm from Waynesboro, Virginia, and I'm here to tell you that it's time for the Wheel of Challenges.
Okay, sorry, Emily, I cut you
off.
Oh,
that's all right. No problem. No problem.
I can only bring that video clip up so often, and so
yeah, it's great. So this is our Wheel of Challenges game. One live viewer each month will be selected to face off against the wheel to have a chance to win the grand prize of a 1-year membership on Project GC. We do ask that you limit yourself to 3 wins, but to enter, let me pull this up, email ChallengeTalkPodcast@gmail.com with the subject "Spin Me" and your geocacher username in brackets with your answer to this question. What is the name of the Australian version of the Jasmer Challenge? All right, I'm going over to our email to monitor for our first correct answer.
Yeah, and while we do that, Kitty Cache made another note in that a lot of the stats in Australia come down to, what is the opportunity? Where do you have to go to get it? And it's not necessarily about the skill. It's not necessarily about how long you've been in the game. It's really about opportunity.
And very appropriately, Kitty Catch was our first correct answer to come in by email. So she'll be up against the Wheel of Challenges, and that is the Jasmer Challenge. Love that name.
All right. So the Osmer Challenge, are we ready to go? Do we want a high number or a low number? What do you think, Ben?
Oh, she's
Wow.
amazing cacher. So
Correct. But
I'm gonna
playing the
she's
wheel
gonna
from
get
down
it.
under is a challenge in its own right as well.
There you
so if
go.
you get the
Good
50 states
insight.
of the USA challenge, most people are out.
Okay.
Let's
I did
see.
that one. I'm going to have to do that. Next time we redo the wheel, I'll do that.
Do a
Well, that's
global
not
wheel.
bad. A
Two
two
and a
and a
half.
half. 2.5 challenge. Sometimes it is all about the numbers.
Yes.
This is one of our new ones that we haven't seen yet.
GC 245FE.
Right. And this one's in Illinois. It's one that I have found.
And it has a difficulty of 30 on the challenge checker.
So in order to qualify, you need to do at least one of the 4. You need to have found 100 caches in 1 day, 150 caches in 1 week, 300 caches in a month, or 2,500 caches in a year. And where did I lose the checker? Up there.
It's there somewhere.
And Kitty.
This is where your browser extension comes in really handy for those grandfather challenges that don't have
That's-
a
That's right. We were talking offline that my browser extension is broken and I am desperate to get that fixed. Hey, no surprise. Kitty qualifies. Well done.
Not only does she qualify for 1, she qualifies for all 4.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Not for her. It doesn't.
Very good. Congratulations. All right. And now we're going to go on to our monthly challenger segment. Every month, we give a congratulatory shout out to listeners who email us proof of qualifying and logging a challenge cache since the last show. So anyone who sends an email to challengetalkpodcast@gmail.com with your found it log and the GC code will be entered for the prize giveaway for a Challenge Talk path tag. So here's a few of the interesting challenges we've heard about from our listeners in the past month.
It's interesting the way something changed in here, because now when I bring the screen up, it comes right up. So anyway, the first one comes in from Bloody Cool, and it is GC7Z3J2. Have to fix the show notes. It's an 8 icon in Sofia challenge. And this is collecting icons in Sofia, Bulgaria.
Ooh.
So Nels took a European trip this month. Way to go.
Awesome. Our next one is GCAFFF8 sent in by Jedi Trash Panda. And this is an easy challenge. You need to find 111D cache. Although we talked about
that may not be that easy.
That may not be that easy. So maybe a little bit of presumption that is an easy challenge. Does that have a checker with a difficulty rating on it?
Yes, 76.
See, it's not that easy. It's presumed easy, but that's just quite enough of an interesting combination that it's
All right, that's amazing. And I lost my place. Oh, the GBs. Gary sent in a list of them, and I took a look at this one being what seemed to be the most interesting of all of them that he found. GC7W6H5, and this is UMP35 and B's 1000 times 3 challenge. And here all you have to do is find 1,000 caches of any type in 3 different states. This one's not possible in Australia, is it, Ben?
Yeah, no, you could do that.
You could do that one?
Yep.
Okay. Because it's any cache. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it's just straight up 1,000 finds in 3 different states, yeah, you could do that. It takes some work. But...
Okay. That's an 80. on the challenge scale, though.
I know I don't have it. I'm working on it. Every trip I visit my parents in Utah, I get an inch a little closer to a third state with 1,000.
Nice.
All right. This next one from Team Talwagger, GCAC10B, challenge 15 icons, and this is to find 15 different cache types. So there's no restriction on this one, right? No time restriction.
Oh, no time restrictions. So
again, there you go.
Take your time, find them. And he was a little nervous about this one in terms of it actually has the Giga, it has the Block Party as 2 of the cache types that are can be found with this. And so those are very rare.
And I don't qualify for that from down under.
Next year's going to be good.
I'm one short.
Yeah. And Gary actually said in the comments that he qualifies for 1,000 times 5. So 1,000 caches in 5 states.
Yeah, but Gary's an animal.
Yes,
He's a caching animal. Way to go, Gary.
We have a few caching animals in our show tonight. In our chat.
I know. We play the Where's Waldo game for you and I. We play the Where's Gary this month game. So
that's great.
He travels. He manages to travels all over. And speaking of traveling, Kitty Cache.
Yeah, I'm glad that you sent this in because we saw that you achieved this on Facebook, and this is awesome. Go ahead, Tim.
This is in the Northern Territory of Australia. And it's only a 44 difficulty. And so what do we have to do?
This is logging a cache in every Australian state and mainland territory in 1 year.
Ah, that's right. Yep, there it is.
What do you think about that, Ben?
Look, take me back 20 years when I used to fly 70 or 80 times a year for work. Yeah, the average person probably be grey nomads with a caravan, comfortably retired, tripping around the country. Very, very good for them. Working couples with 2 young kids? Nah.
Not so much. Not right now.
Something to add to your list of things to do.
And just going to the cache itself is, it's out there. Northern Territory contains some of the most remote. Yeah. So it's in Catherine in the Northern Territory.
It's really good to maybe plan your final territory where this challenge is.
Yeah. Well, if you're going to go to the Northern Territory, you probably want to go there and sign the challenge cache while you're at it.
Okay, cool. And our final one tonight was sent in by Roadie Guy. I like a good cache challenge. So this one is GC B0FV9. This one's actually a new one. This was published in November of 2024. And it's in British Columbia, Canada. And to qualify, you need to find at least one geocache with 1,000 favorite points in 5 different countries. So we know we don't need to go to Australia for this one.
Nope. I've got 4. And Australia, funnily enough, is not one of them.
Okay.
That's one area I'm lacking. That's one area I'm lacking with the
thing.
Number of countries I've been caching in. But I want to say this is pretty cool. The guy also told us that he also found GCAQ46A on November 10th in Montenegro while on his cruise and said, interestingly, Bloody Cool found this cache the day before I did. Nice. So I love when I hear crossover stories from our community. That's just really cool. Thanks for sharing that with us.
We had submissions from the Tiki Brit and just finding our way. So thank you for everyone that submitted for this month. We put the names in a hat, we spun the wheel, and who won?
This month's winner of our Challenge Talk Path Bag is Jedi Trash Panda. Congratulations.
Yay!
All right. Well, again, Ben, thank you for being with us. Thank you for just the tip of the iceberg telling us what challenge caching is like where you're at. I love that you're another one of an obsessed challenge cacher like our community. So thank you for being here. Thank you for contributing to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
Good luck in your endeavors.
Thank you.
All right. And remember that our next show is the second Tuesday of every month in January. That will be January 14th. And show notes will be posted shortly after the show airs in the video description and linked in the podcast description.
Now remember to say hello in that special way when you see Emily or I at an event, and it could look something like this.
Howdy, Electric Water Boy from Selma, Texas. Challenge accepted.
Cache Addict Mel from Charlotte, North Carolina. Challenge completed.
We're B&J Bish from Orlando. Challenge accepted.
Challenge completed.
So you get one of anyway.
That's great.
This month's quote also comes from Miss Cicely Tyson this time. Challenges make you discover things about yourself that you never really knew.
Very good.
We definitely want to say thank you to everyone that watches and listen. Hopefully Santa will be very good to you in the coming year. And we look forward to one more comment.
Hi, Emily's mom here, just popping in to say thanks for watching today.
So remember, it really is not about the numbers. It's about the challenge.
Challenge accepted. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.